welcome to Potty Talk. If you're new to my channel, you're probably wondering why the name Potty Talk. Well, partly because I'm literally in my bathroom. Toilet paper, see, not on the roll, obviously. The toilet paper in my bathroom never gets put on the roll, ever. In fact, it usually ends up back there behind me on the toilet. But anyways, like most moms, the only place in my house that is somewhat peaceful and somewhat quiet is here in the bathroom. So I'm hiding out in here so that my kids aren't jumping all over me while I try to vlog. And also, 3 of our children are not yet, their adoptions are not yet finalized. So in order to protect their privacy, I can't have their faces all over the internet world. So I hide in my bathroom for Potty Talk. I wanted to catch up with you guys about the little medical emergency that happened, the huge medical emergency that happened in our family on January the 1st. You know how they say that whatever you do on New Year's is what you're supposed to be doing the rest of the year? I pray to God that is not the case, but we have had a pretty rough year so far, just with health issues and medical-wise. So on January 1st, I was actually in here with you doing a vlog when one of my kids knocked on the door and said, you can hear him at the end of the video, it was Noah. He said, "Mom, Isaac accidentally drank some milk." And many of you know that my son has lots of food allergies, milk being one of them, and milk is an anaphylactic allergy for him. So I quickly ended the video, rushed upstairs. It had just happened. As soon as Noah came and told me it had just happened. So I rushed upstairs, and he's sitting on the couch with a bowl in front of him, a little puke bowl. And I said, "Isaac, what happened?" And he said, "I think I got some milk. There was milk in my cup. I think you gave me the wrong cup." Yes, I think I gave him the wrong cup. And he said, "I had 3 swallows of it." And I said, "Well, what do you think?" And he said, "Well, Daddy already gave me Benadryl." Because there's been times in the past when he's had milk or even cheese or butter through cross-contamination, and it's not really bothered him at all. I'll give him Benadryl just to be on the safe side, but he's fine. But as I'm sitting there looking at him, I can see that he's starting to, having to kind of work to breathe a little bit. I said, "Okay, let's get the EpiPen. We just want to be safe. Let's just go ahead and get it." So I went to the bathroom right down the hall to get the EpiPen. Before I could come out of this is like 5 seconds. Before I could come out of the bathroom back into the hallway, I hear him vomiting. And if you have ever been around a person who has an anaphylactic attack, this is not typical vomiting. It's a lot of mucus. His eyes pour, his nose pours. And when he throws up, there's a lot of mucus. The problem with that is it's thick, and as he's starting to come up, it prevents him from breathing. So not only does he have his lungs pretty much collapsing down on him from the anaphylaxis, then he's got this mucus going on too that's making it hard for him to breathe. So I pretty much walked him to the bathroom quickly so he could be next to the toilet. And as he's throwing up, and he's very much struggling to breathe at this point. So normally I've had to give him an EpiPen maybe 2 or 3 times, in his life. And I've always had time to take his pants down before giving that shot to him in his leg. I didn't have time. I went right through his jeans, slammed it right in. Normally I would say, "Okay, here it comes, 1, 2, 3. I didn't do that. There was no time. I could tell that this was a major emergency. So I slammed that little thing into his leg and counted to 10, and then we rubbed it in. And I told him, "Okay, it's going to get better here in about 20 seconds. You're going to feel so much better." The EpiPen did not work. If you know anything about food allergies, whatever, allergies like this, an EpiPen comes in a pack of 2. Because there are times that the first epinephrine shot is not effective and you need the second one. So I'm realizing, oh crap, this is not working. He's getting worse. At this point, he was starting to turn blue around his mouth, and he was like, really, he was working to breathe and at the same time still vomiting. And then I realized that I had no clue where the other EpiPen was. We moved 4 or 5 months ago, and I thought, well, maybe it's downstairs in my basement. So I got my husband to sit with Isaac, and I ran downstairs, couldn't find it anywhere, could not find that other EpiPen. By the time I got back upstairs, my husband had got him sit down in his room. And you guys, I'm not joking when I tell you he was blue all over, and I don't know how he was breathing. I don't know how he was managing to get air in. He was using his whole entire body to try and get air in, and he had stopped vomiting at that point. But his face was swollen, his lips were swollen. He was sitting on a little step stool in his room, and I could tell he was about to fall over. He couldn't even hold himself up. So I set myself behind him and let him lean up against my chest. And my husband, we had the idea, let's get his breathing machine out. He is a severe asthmatic kid. I mean, bless his heart. He's actually been hospitalized more times than I can tell you. Had ambulance rides because of asthma more times than I can tell you. And he's been in the pediatric ICU twice in his little short life just because of his asthma. I mean, it's very severe. So we keep all those medications and the breathing machine on hand. And we pulled that in, got that started quickly. But as we're getting it started, I'm thinking, I had already called 911 at this point. Sorry, I forgot about that. I had called 911 as soon as I gave him that EpiPen and I realized this is not working. I called 911 and told them, you know, what was going on. And I did not think that they were going to make it. I could tell he was getting that panic in his eyes, which I don't know how he had made it that far without freaking out. Because if it had been me, you guys, you can guarantee I would have been flailing all over the place and totally freaking out. But he had stayed pretty calm. I could see that panic coming into his eyes. And I truly did not think the paramedics were going to make it before he quit breathing. So I told him, listen, I don't want you to worry. Mama and Daddy know what to do. If you stop breathing, we can take care of you. So I don't want you to worry about that. If you have to stop breathing, that's fine. Mama and Daddy can take care of you. I'm saying this calmly, but inside I'm like, I was struggling to talk. My chest was constricting at that point. And even while I'm saying that to him, I'm thinking, you know, his lungs are just shut down right now. They just clamped down, completely shut down. Rescue breaths are not really going to help him. But I know from, CPR classes, first aid classes, all that stuff that they tell you, really it's the chest compressions that are the most important. In fact, I think they've changed it. Back when I first took CPR classes as a teenager, it's been a little while ago, it seems like it was 15 and 2, 15 chest compressions to 2 rescue breaths. And I believe they changed it to 30 and 2 now. So that was somewhat comforting to me that even if we couldn't get air into him, that we could still keep his heart going. You guys, even as I'm saying this, I'm just sitting here like, oh my word, I cannot believe that we had to go through this. But anyways, the breathing treatment helped a lot. We have a steroid medication that goes inside the nebulizer, and also an albuterol combination medicine with another medication that I cannot remember what it's called. It starts with I. That is what turned him around. After he had been doing that for probably about 3 or 4 minutes, that's when he kind of turned the corner and he was okay. The blueness went down. He was still struggling to breathe, but he was able to breathe a little bit more comfortably. The paramedics finally got there. They set him down on the couch and were kind of taking his vitals, and his blood pressure was lower than they wanted. So they decided to just go ahead and get him out to the ambulance. And Isaac says they gave him 5 shots in the ambulance. I don't know what all they gave him. I know that he didn't get another epi shot until he got to the ER. But I know one of the medications was for his blood pressure because his blood pressure was getting too low. I honestly don't know what all they gave him in the ambulance. My husband went with him. And I was fine. I hadn't broken down and cried. But as the door shut behind him, my second son, Noah, He and Isaac, you guys, are like this. They are 19 months apart, and they have always been super close. And so we had sent all the other kids to their rooms with the doors shut, and they have locks on the outside of the doors. And I had locked all their doors so they could not come out of their rooms while the paramedics were coming in. And Noah's job had been to stand at the door, at the front door, to let them know where to come in while we were in the back bedroom with Isaac. So he'd been helping us. And as soon as that door shut, Noah turned to me and he looked up at me and his face just fell and he just lost it. I mean, he was bawling his eyes out. So, of course, at that point, I lost it as well. And we sat down on the couch and I said, "Are you okay?" And he said, "Well, I just miss Isaac." I was like, "Baby, he just left." I was like, "I know, but I miss him and I'm worried about him." And he got up off my lap and went to the front door. And I said, "Are you going to watch the ambulance drive away?" And he said, "Yeah." And so I, what did I say? No, I said, "Are you going to go watch?" Thinking in my head, "Are you going to watch the ambulance drive off?" And he said, "Yes." And went out the front door. And I said, "Well, shut it so the babies don't go out." A little bit later, I realized that Noah hadn't come back in. So I walked out to the front porch, and there's no Noah. And I could see the ambulance driving off down the hill. And so I'm calling Noah, and my daughter apparently had her window open, her bedroom window open, so she could see. And she said, "Noah went on the ambulance." I was like, "What? Noah went on the ambulance? Why?" I'm really completely shocked that the paramedics even allowed him to get on the ambulance with my husband and his brother. But turns out when I said you could go watch, then he interpreted that as he could get in the ambulance and watch. So he went and banged on the door until they let him in, apparently. I'm extremely grateful for the kindness of those paramedics to allow him to go with his brother, because he was just extremely upset, and it was very generous of them to allow him to go. Anyway, he got to Children's Hospital, and normally when we've had an anaphylactic reaction like this, as a couple times has happened before, he goes to the ER. We're there about 4 hours to make sure as the epi wears off that the reaction doesn't come back. So that's what I'm anticipating is going to happen, right? He was still having trouble when they got to the ER. They ended up giving him another epi in the ER, all kinds of other meds. He was on a continuous breathing treatment, and he actually was, they ended up admitting him probably about 11:30 that night. He stayed on until probably 5 the next day. He did not recover the way that they wanted him to, and the way that I expected him to. So it was, the whole experience was just very scary, very traumatizing for all of us, all the kids. I don't think they had ever seen Isaac like that. And Jeremy, my husband, had never seen him like that. Actually, the other reactions that he'd had before had never been that severe. And always before, when I gave him the EpiPen, it was effective. And within, 10, 15 seconds, it was working. So it was terrifying. But praise God, he is okay. We did get approval, even though he's not quite at the 50-pound mark. We did get approval for him to get a refill of the epi at the adult strength and not the epi junior, which is what he's been using. So that was a little bit comforting. And they gave us some type of medication that will go in his nebulizer that we have to mix with saline. I'm not sure exactly what it is. I haven't looked at it. My husband brought it home. But they said that it's something like the EpiPen, except it, goes in the nebulizer. So knowing now that where we live now, as opposed to where we used to live, 3 minutes away from an ambulance bay or whatever that's called, literally it would take them 3 minutes to get to our house. It took them 20 minutes to get to our house where we live now. So it's very comforting to know that we have that backup medication that we can use, and the adult strength EpiPen in case this ever happens again. I have a little bit of comfort that we can hopefully take care of it without it getting so awful this time. So there's the story of our New Year's Day. And I'm sure if you've seen the other videos, you know everything that happened with me. Just 2 days later, he got home from the hospital on Monday. On Tuesday, things went crazy with me lasted for over a week. So we're just now getting back, and everybody seems to be healthy right now, except, I take that back. We've got runny noses and sore throats and low-grade fevers, but nothing serious right now. Please, Lord, let it stay that way. So that's the story of my son's anaphylactic attack. Thanks for sticking around to watch it to the very end. I see this is like 15 minutes long. It's kind of long, but thanks for sticking around and watching, and I'll see you next time for Potty Talk. Bye.